All right, it's showing that it is recording. So we'll just go like we did before. I'll make the intro and then kind of like we did yesterday. You're all
Yeah,
good?
I think it'll work now.
And
I
then,
see something in the right-hand corner of my
okay,
screen that I didn't see yesterday, and at the top, the uploading thing. So
okay. All right, good.
when we
Okay.
end, I'm just gonna turn my camera off, go on mute, and leave it until it says 100.
Okay, same here. I'm going
Because
to do the same
okay,
thing.
yeah.
Not going to rush off and all that kind of good stuff. Okay. All right. All right. Welcome everyone to Legacy Leaders Lounge. I'm Myles Threatt, and I'm so excited about having you join us today. I've got a wonderful guest for us, Kristin Gutierrez. Did I pronounce that right? You get it right?
Gutierrez, yeah, you're good.
Gutierrez. All right, all right. So excuse me with that. But hey, Kristin used to feel stuck. I don't know if you've ever been there, but she was there, overworked and undervalued. She spent years in the corporate sales, leading multi-million dollar teams, yet deep down, she knew she was meant for more. Trapped in the back-to-back meetings, chasing someone else's dream, constantly wondering, is this it? Is this all? Do you ever feel that way? Have you ever felt that way? She was playing the game, but never really felt like she was winning. That all changed on April 17th, 2023, when she turned what happened to her into what happened for her. And I'm looking forward to hearing that story because it was a major change in her life. And I was there when it happened. We were in the same mastermind. So I know this story. I've seen her change and turn it all around. A bad place to be, somewhere none of us want to be. But guess what? She didn't have a backup plan, no safety net, no perfect timing. She bet on herself and built a business that changed everything. Known as the Say Yes Queen, Kristin is a 3-time award-winning entrepreneur, high-ticket sales expert, best-selling author, and sought-after speaker who teaches corporations and entrepreneurs alike how to stop overthinking, take massive imperfect action, and make 6 to 7 figure moves. She has shared the stage with industry leaders like Ellen Wilder, empowering experts to sell with confidence, scale with ease, and finally build a business that serves them. Your next level isn't waiting for you. Say yes to what's possible and create the success you deserve. Kristin, thank you for joining us today.
What's up, Miles? Thank you so much for having me on your show. I really appreciate the opportunity to collaborate.
Well, I know you're going to be dropping bombs for us, and we're going to have a great show today. So, as we get started, your new book is titled Say Yes and Figure It Out.
Yeah.
What's the story behind this powerful message?
Oh my gosh. You touched on it a little. It was April 17th, 2023. That is the day that changed everything for me. I don't know if you're listening or watching, if you or anybody you know has been impacted by unexpected mass layoffs. That is what happened to me at 10 a.m. that day.
Oh,
And
my.
by 10 in the morning, when my CEO and Senior Vice President of HR hung up the Zoom meeting, I was like, what do I do now? And we'll talk more about like different details of the story as we go. But what I did, as humans, we seek comfort, and
Mm,
comfort very much could be binge watching our favorite show on Netflix, taking
yep.
a nap on the
Yep.
couch that's behind me, or eating a box of cookies. I chose to seek comfort in action.
All
And
right.
that is the basis of how I successfully launched my business, iterated my business again last year, and keep moving forward. But it's not even about me. It really is how this framework inspires thousands of other people to do the same.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Yeah, just today I was working with a group of leaders on the operations side, and one of the leaders was talking about how much they love what they do and how excited they are to do it and their mindset towards it. But I did ask them the question, well, what do you do on those days when you just really don't feel it? You just don't really have the energy. You just don't really have the drive.
Mhm.
And they basically had a mindset shift thing that they did to just help them kind of turn it on those days when they just didn't feel like they could turn it on, and for them it was just like when they badged in to walk into the door, that was their mechanism, I guess you could say, or to help them turn it on in those moments. And you were one of those people that when most people would like turn it off and, go lay in the bed and cry and say, oh, it's me. What's going to happen to me? I'm going to lose everything.
Mm.
You went into action, and action and momentum make so much of a difference. They solve
Mhm.
so many problems because we just don't stop. We just keep moving forward. We don't let the setbacks keep us back.
Oh,
And
Myles dropping sound bite.
so so as a woman leader in both corporate sales and entrepreneurship, what unique perspective have you gained?
Oh, it's like, I don't know about you or people listening, like they always say they
Mm-hmm.
always say, do what you love and you'll never work another day in your life.
Right.
I felt that as a VP of sales, we had a team. This is how I know the say yes and figure it out framework is just can go across anybody doing health and fitness, or trying to be a better parent, or climbing the corporate ladder, or senior executives, or individuals, or your kids. But like, we had a team at where I got let go from, and we had such a culture intact,
Mm.
and it was so fun. Every
Wow.
single person from that 8-person team would say the same. Like,
Okay.
that wasn't a me thing. That was, I had fun because they were having fun. We had created this culture. And
Mm.
I used to go into organizations as an entrepreneur consulting on how to create culture within a micro team. Because like
Yep.
big corporate culture is one thing, but like actual corporate on the ground level is another.
Mm.
That was very fulfilling. So
Yeah.
I don't want to take away anything from my corporate days. The
Yeah.
thing that fulfills me, and like what I've learned, kind of a thing, right, is you know, you have to iterate your whole life. Like, you just have to keep figuring it out, stepping forward, taking another turn, pivoting, iterating, getting another mentor, like looking behind the next door. And that is a very fulfilling thing that I've learned.
Mm.
I've actually learned how to capture fulfillment in my job now, I say in quotes,
Yeah.
because as I don't feel like I'm working.
Mm.
This is part of my work, and it doesn't feel like work. It feels like hanging out with my friend Myles.
Yeah.
So
This is
that's like,
amazing.
yeah. So how do you, like, I would ask everybody who's listening, like, no matter where you are today and where you want to go, and big goals are great and we should all have them, but like, how do you appreciate something that you have right now?
Mm.
And like, where do you find joy
Mm.
in what you're doing?
Oh, that message aligns so well with Legacy Leaders Lounge, because one of the things I talk about in building a legacy, and it's the last part of it, I have 5 F's, and the last F
Mm.
is called fun. And really and truly, I learned this from my time living and working in Thailand. I spent 13 years of my first career doing that in nonprofit work. And I learned that from the Thai people. And if it's worth doing, it's worth having fun. If it's not, if you're not
Mhm.
having fun doing it, it's really not worth it. And some people would have a negative mindset towards them, saying they might be lazy, and things that they were not lazy at all. It's just
Yeah.
like everywhere you went, the first thing that they were asking you, were you having fun?
Mhm.
And I think we should have fun in what we
Mhm.
do. I think it should be part of our life. We should build it into it. And if we're not having fun doing it, then why are you still doing it? And that same group of people I was talking to today and guiding them through this session, the leader spoke up and said, hey, we should, he's setting a tone. We should be having fun together. We should be having fun doing this, going after big dreams and goals, even through the hard times, finding ways to have fun as we do it. So, how do you define success differently now compared to your corporate days?
Well, great, because if anybody else is in corporate, I mean, it's all good. Like, when I future have employees, like, I will be their corporation, right? But
Mm-hmm.
it really was marching toward other people's goals. And for me, my success was measured in dollars and cents,
Mm.
literally and figuratively, because we had a quota.
Yep.
There's the figurative part, but literally, as an individual, as a human on this planet, I honestly, genuinely wore it as a badge of honor that the more I made at a W-2 level, like the more
Mm.
they paid me, that was my worth. That's how I measured
Yeah.
success.
Yeah.
And now, as an entrepreneur, the it, I never knew. because I'd heard before, like, impact others and like have a bigger impact. That's how you'll never feel like you're working again.
Mm-hmm.
But SERP winning, part of my story on April 17th at 10 a.m. when we hung up that Zoom meeting was I just leaned into all this imperfect action. And by 2 p.m. that day, I won my first client.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, whoa, like that feels amazing. Not because they were going to be paying me money. That's a byproduct of the
Mm-hmm.
fact that they needed something that I could actually help them with. I could solve problems for them with my consulting. And that the impact now on others is how I measure
Yeah.
success.
Wow. That's amazing. That's an amazing
Yeah.
story. That is so amazing that you didn't let what happened set you back. And you took, really and truly, you took massive action and you got that first client within that day, which honestly, you know what they say a lot of times, scared money don't make money, but you weren't scared at all. So,
Well, I was
so
scared. No, oh, that's so good though. And the thing is, and how we met with the Purpose Company, and like
yeah.
big shout out to Brian and Gab and everybody in that community, is like, I had mentorship. I had paid my own money for coaching, even though I was super happy in corporate and I was still wanting to get to that C-level place. I had decided only 2 months prior, or 1 month, no, 2 months prior to being let go, that I was going to write a book
Mm,
to add credibility to me as a contributor, into like as a leader,
mm-hmm.
so that maybe my company would, because like my CEO said, no, you're not ready to be our chief revenue officer.
Yeah.
And that's another moment of like, okay, if somebody else tells you you're not ready, whether you think you are or not,
Yeah.
how do you internalize that? Are you
Yeah.
scared? Yes. And do you do it anyway?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And yes.
Yes.
And so I just want to, so that everybody listening knows that like I very, very, very much was scared. And we can even talk about how scary it was financially and relationally and emotionally. But
Mm,
um, yeah, I didn't let somebody else's opinion about me like deter my self-worth, even though that's also hard.
yeah.
But I leaned in to the community, which is in that time was very much for me and for you, the Purpose Company. And
Yes.
I asked them for help, right?
Wow.
Like, hey, I need coaching. I need, like, this just happened. Like, how
Mm-hmm.
do I keep moving?
Yep. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's amazing when we're involved in communities like that, that how much they benefit and help us. And then, how many people out there on listening to us today have ever considered it, ever thought about it. And I know we're going to dive in a little bit more into this as we talk into our discussion, as well, because you did you bet on yourself, right?
Yeah.
And so many people are not willing to do that and take and bet on themselves. They'd rather spend money on things that don't last instead of making that investment and betting on themselves.
Mm.
And you talked about finances, but I also want to talk a little bit about, we'll get into that. I want to talk a little bit about family right now.
Mm.
How do you balance being a mom while building a multi six figure business?
Yeah. It's like, how do you integrate life and work so that it doesn't feel like you're working, but that,
Mm-hmm.
a few things had to happen. When I first got let go, I'm on the West Coast and always working in a global company capacity, so
Mm-hmm.
that while respectfully, like, the 7 a.m. meetings were minimal,
Mm-hmm.
there were 7 a.m. meetings.
Mm-hmm.
That's 10 a.m. East Coast. So it's kind of like you do have to, and it's 5 p.m. In certain parts of Europe and whatnot. So you do have to, as a global company, everybody has to make exceptions.
Yep.
But when I lost my job, I decided, okay, well, first I'm going to block 8 to 9 and 4 to 5 on my calendar. But I don't know if you've ever done that. It's called scope creep. Then
Mm-hmm.
when you start to like make a bunch of exceptions to the rule.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sitting at a conference with my now mentor, Eileen Wilder, in July of 2024. And Myles, are you somebody who like, I'm pretending like I'm typing, like have a bunch of to do, like you like, I love a to do list. Do you
Yeah,
like,
I have my to do list as well. Yes, I do.
so I came back from this conference with like a mile long to do list. And at the conference, I'm like, I can't wait to implement all of this stuff. And when I got home, I was like paralyzed, not by the amount of work to do, but like what to do first. And like, I had just spent all 3 days at a conference learning that like The key to unlocking true success in your life is to live in your imagination
Mm.
and focus more on like the big things that can move the needle in your business without worrying about how.
Yes.
Like the how will figure itself out.
Mm-hmm.
But this to-do list, I was stuck in implementation, which is like of the 4 levels of value, you have implementation, people who use their hands for work.
Yep.
You have unification, people like me at the VP level who like herd cats, right? And then you have communication and imagination. And at every level from implementation to imagination, you're having much bigger impact and
Mm.
you're able to therefore make much more money.
Yes.
And I went on a walk that day when I was like super overwhelmed and I threw out my to-do list and I thought, what if I don't do any of it, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And that very day I slashed my work hours to 11 to 2, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And certainly scope creep still happens,
Yep.
but this is how then 8 to 9, it wasn't enough. 4 to 5 wasn't enough. I'm like, I can have a bigger impact, serve people at a higher level, working 4 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
My past self is very like, this was the life that I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And with kids, because you asked about family, my kids are still so young. Both of them are well under 2 digits, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
young. And how do I not leave them at school until 6 o'clock? Because
Yeah.
that's what parents do now, right? And no judgment. I did that. I've done that their whole lives. So how do I just like really truly put work away and don't work on vacation?
Mm.
Because I've done that, right? It's like a badge of honor to
Yeah.
go on vacation and send the out of office email to your colleagues to say, I'm going on vacation, but you can still reach me because I'll be connected.
Mm. I
Have you
don't
ever
send
done that?
those. I don't send those.
Oh,
I
oh
don't care
yeah.
for that badge of honor for myself
Yeah.
personally, but there's
So
a lot of
now
people
it's
like
just like
that.
that is how I integrate the two because 11 to 2 and I mean like the weeks I don't have my kids, I'm like
Yeah.
in bed until like 8 o'clock in the morning. It's like
Yeah.
bizarre to me.
Yeah.
But I'm catching up on sleep because I'm an old young mom
Uh-huh.
and I'm just it's a rest and restore season.
Yeah.
And sure enough, in 2023, I made my first 6 figures as an entrepreneur. But in 2024, I made multiple six
Wow.
figures doing that, just that.
Working 11 to 2.
And then
That
in
is amazing.
2025 and beyond, I'm scaling to 7 figures and never looking back.
I hear you. That's amazing. That's amazing. Is 11 to 2 like your best? Is that when you're your best? Is that why you designed it that way, or what made you choose 11 to 2?
That's a good question, and everybody should for their own self. I used to do workshops like this in corporate where I was like, "What's your most productive hour?" is what we called it because in a traditional 8 to 5 workday, some people are sleepier after lunch or in the afternoon, and some people are truly like they drag their feet in the morning and then they're more productive.
Mm.
So 11 to 2 for me. If I could wave a magic wand and have any workday I want, my workday really would be like 8 to 10, 8 to 11.
Okay.
It's not possible with me, with my kids,
Okay.
because we're divorced. And when I have my children for drop off, I cannot physically get back to my desk by 8 a.m. And then all of a sudden I'm stressed
Okay.
out. And so 11 to 2 isn't quote ideal for me, but it honors the season of life I'm in with the
Okay.
kids. Therefore, when I drop them off, I now still have 2, 3 hours, like I garden, I go on a walk.
Yeah. That's great.
Like
That's
a
amazing.
lot of ideas get generated while I'm gardening.
Oh,
So
I get that.
yeah.
I mean, just this past week, I've been working on a training activity I'm doing for this manufacturing company, and been working on it all day long. And went to the gym. Guess what I was doing in the gym? I was
Ideas.
still working on it. I was working on it in my head. All these new ideas, everything was coming to me during my workout.
Mhm.
And, I look at that time, well, that time's my time. That's time for my health. But at the same time, doing that, my brain is working. I'm not listening to music. I was not listening to a podcast or anything that day. I was just I knew what I was tasked to do and had to work on it, and it was just still there in my mind. And how can I make it better? How can I improve on it? And we need to take advantage of those opportunities, whether it's like you
Mhm.
gardening or going outdoors, just going for that walk and using the environment to create new ideas,
Mhm.
or solve problems that we might be dealing with as well. So that's
Yeah.
amazing. So what advice would you give to other mothers considering entrepreneurship then?
Mm. I think you mentioned this. I think there's never a right time, like, to have kids,
Yep.
to get married.
Yep.
Turns out the right time to buy a house was yesterday or
Yep.
like last year. So there's
Hmm.
never a right time. It's like, why did nobody buy? Like, why did I not buy as many houses as I could have leveraged in California 5 years ago?
Yep.
Because it's not, quote unquote, the right time. I don't have all the money. There's always all these things. And so it is really never the right time. I never wanted to write a book, but I woke up one day and decided a book is an excellent tool
Hmm.
to helping me find my voice, expand my credibility, and kind of there's all these byproducts of the book. Um, but I did always want to start my own business, and to my over my shoulder is a whiteboard, and
Hmm.
at the top of that whiteboard, well before I got let go from my job, I knew I wanted to monetize my expertise, and I didn't know how.
Yeah.
Um, and I was very scared. Again, there's that scarcity, like real facts, right? Because we had no money in the bank, and we were renovating a house 2,000 miles away that I had my grandparents' home that I had purchased.
Hmm.
So that was 100% not the right time to start my business, which is crazy because the theme here is what to say to moms who want to become entrepreneurs: do it now. Like
Okay.
the sum of all of this is like, do it now, because there's never a right time. Because otherwise, if you're like me in 2023, having purchased your grandparents' home 2,000 miles away, deciding to do a full gut renovation on it with $0 in the bank, spending, oh my gosh, Myles, like multiple six figures on this home that you didn't have, racking it up on credit card, knowing high risk, high reward, you will just cash out refi with your W 2.
Hmm.
And then in the middle of the walls being wide open, like studs, like exposed, they let me go from my job, unexpectedly pulled the rug out from under me. I had no choice
Hmm.
but to lean in and start monetizing. And because I leaned into so much imperfect action and I didn't know what I was doing, and I wasn't worried about a brand or a logo or a website, I simply started to do what Brian Boucher had told me to do, which is like, get calls, do calls.
Hmm.
Just like reach out to a bunch of people, ask them for meetings, and then show up to the meeting and ask them what they want and give them what they need. And I did that countless times that day and that week and those
Hmm.
first few months of being let go in order to generate income for my family to live.
Yeah. Wow.
And if
That's
we all
amazing.
just had a line in the sand like that, because
Uh-huh.
we only have one life to live, we tomorrow's not guaranteed, right? So
Yep.
how do we keep ourselves in momentum? And then maybe we should talk about this 4-step framework I have for say yes and figure it out. But that is the advice I would give. Like, there's never a right time. Do it
Okay.
now.
All right. Yeah, I want to dive into that framework, but I don't want to piggyback just a little bit
Yeah.
because you talked about when you got laid off,
Mhm.
you were working on that house. Okay, you
Mhm.
had all that credit card debt, but I also know your story. You still invested in yourself in that same
Mhm.
time frame. What was that like? And
Crazy.
kind of tell it off. I mean, what? How much did ballpark figure? How much did you
Yeah.
bet on yourself to invest in yourself so you
Yeah.
could get to where you are today?
Isn't that crazy? Like, so if you're listening, tell us what side of the spectrum you're on,
Mm,
which is like, I've never invested anything in myself. I've taken the company's trainings they've given me, and those are very valuable, but I've never personally spent 1,000, let alone $100,000 on my own self. Or are you on the other end of the spectrum, which is where I fall in,
hmm.
which is then my husband, every time I would say I'm like, ask for forgiveness, not for permission. I would
Yeah.
say, "Oh, I bought another thing." He'd like, "Another one, Kristin."
Mm,
And he's still my biggest cheerleader. So, um, but because I like, this is important to root the answer in like what side of the spectrum. I know which side you're on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're on my side.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't matter, because if you're on the side I'm on, it's probably common that you've invested a lot of money and then quote unquote nothing's happened with you having invested that money. And we fail to recognize that that's all on us.
Mm-hmm.
But I can, because I've invested so much money.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the two biggest ones was a $20,000 thing for real estate I did nothing with, and a
Oh, wow.
$50,000 thing that I did nothing with. Like I don't have that kind of money. Like what am I doing?
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to crack a code. And so there's there's several then other investments I've made. So the one in 2023, I had just wired my mentors multiple five figures
Okay.
on a Friday. Like we can track the receipts.
Mm-hmm.
And Monday I got let go from my job.
Oh, wow.
And I used to speak on their stages, and I would just so organically say, I never once asked for my money back,
Yeah.
even though, like, I mean, the wire barely had even crossed the bank from Friday to Monday, right?
Mm-hmm.
I knew that money was the key to me getting ahead.
Yes.
And so that their expertise, their mentorship, and sure enough, I would like be texting them on my phone, like questions, and like showing up in the communities and like asking questions and listening to what everybody else was asking and going back through their courses to find the one or two things that are going to massively move the needle in my business. And sure enough, in from May to December of 2023, I made six figures.
Oh, wow.
And that is because I did something with the investment.
Yeah.
But you fast forward another year, and I was looking for more mentorship and like a different approach. And
Mm-hmm.
I invested when all of the walls started crumbling, right? Like, to say it didn't get easy would be like 18 months of like in like gut wrenching, like financial despair.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still like not technically out of the entire woods.
Yeah.
Like I'm really not. There's a couple things that are still lingering that are very, very, very financially painful.
Mm-hmm.
And I just keep leaning in. I keep detaching from the how. I keep iterating my offers, and I keep investing in myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you people, we don't realize it, but like when you invest in coaches like Myles, like myself, like whoever, you're paying for proximity to that person. You're paying to learn the skill set that person that you're investing in has, or the people that they know, or
Mm.
the way that they can help move the needle for you in your life.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And
sometimes
it's,
we'll make some bad decisions, I mean.
yeah. Yeah. But people don't always realize, I mean, it's a proven, statistically, it's a proven fact that if
Mm,
you invest in coaching for yourself, that you're going to get at least a 500% ROI on
mm,
that investment. That's just across the board. Okay. And yeah, I know that there's a lot of coaches out there that might not be worth their salt
mm,
and things of that nature. But if you do your research and you go and find the one that you resonate with and
mm,
you put it into practice, it is guaranteed that you're going to be able to get a huge ROI for yourself. So
mm,
those people that are out there listening to us today, and if you're hesitant at all about investing in yourself, you go look at the professional athletes, okay, across
mm,
the board, those that are at the top of their game. You know what they're how you don't know how much money they're spending. They're
oh,
spending into the millions of dollars on coaches, other professionals to help them stay in either top shape, top form, all that, to be who they are, to stay at the top of their game. Okay. And,
yes.
some people are not willing to invest $1,000 on this, which is nothing, as, you start, if you go and willing to make that $5,000, $10,000 investment on yourself, it is going to be a game changer for you in your life as you go after your big dreams.
Oh yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so,
And I mean, and I just want to, I want, okay. I want to acknowledge your analogy. I love it.
hmm,
I love it because, like, think about everybody listening, like how much have you spent for your 6-year-old to go to the batting cages?
Oh
Or then
yeah.
you go to the batting cages and you see slightly older kids with coaches there.
Yep.
Like you're willing to invest in other people.
Yep.
But I don't, I want to make sure like we price anchor this appropriately, which is like the most recent investment I did in myself was September 2024, and it was 6 figures.
Oh
It was
wow.
one 6-figure investment.
Oh wow.
And that investment is the thing that's taking me to a million and beyond.
Oh wow. That's
So,
amazing.
so like, yeah, right. Like I want, it's not to impress anybody. It really is to impress upon us that like your comment on the millions and millions and millions of like the dollars that professional athletes spend,
Mm-hmm.
and also based on the research of the ROI from X, Y, and Z, just if you are on the spectrum where you've invested once or twice and it didn't work out,
Mm-hmm.
ask yourself, was it a you problem? And also ask who else could help move the needle for you.
Yeah, that's true.
So many good coaches out there.
That's true.
Mm.
So, what were the key strategies to help you scale to multiple six figures?
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the say yes and figure it out 4-step framework because it's
Okay.
integrated into everything. And this is how I'm scaling. So, step one is to make a decision.
Okay.
Even in the point of like, I do not have 6 figures. And could I use that money to pay off one of these massive hard money loans? Yes.
Mm.
But decide that you're going to do something.
Mm-hmm.
That's the transformation is in the transaction, is the second you decide. Step
Mm-hmm.
two of the framework is to take one step. So the first step I took when I made that huge investment, or anything in life, like a lot of times I compare this to making phone calls in corporate sales,
Yep.
but you have to make one tiny itty bitty step. It's not go like, Miles, how do you eat an elephant?
One bite at a time.
That's it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
how do you build a staircase? Like we tend to want to overcomplicate everything.
Yes, we do.
I'll give you for 3 words that I paid a lot of money to hear, and it's very ironic, which is make it easy.
Oh
We
wow.
just like we want to overcomplicate everything, make it easy. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but so take a step, just take a step, because you talked earlier about people who the mindset thing, and in my framework, it's based on neuroscience and this concept of dopamine, right? The chemical dopamine that
Mm-hmm.
gets released not when we accomplish the goal, but when we put ourselves in action. So all the science points to like imperfect action is
Mm-hmm.
actually when the dopamine gets released. And that is what snowballs the motivation to keep going, because no, employees don't want to show up to work every day. You don't want to go to the gym every day. Like it's a fact. You don't want to
Yeah.
eat healthy every day. Like it's a decision, and
Mm-hmm.
it's one little tiny step. So the third step in my framework is to lean in, which is not ironic, but like think of all the stories we've already told in the time
Mm-hmm.
together. That's leaning in. You've leaned in. I've leaned in. There's communities, there's coaching, there's other people, there's asking for help. Leaning in looks different depending on what your goal you're going after. And the fourth step is your fifth F, right? I call it celebrate, you call it fun. So celebrate the heck out of everything. I've been coaching entrepreneurs this week,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, post it in the group, this tiny little win, the fact that you decided to do something, the fact that you had one person show up to something, the fact that, because we could talk about that idea of like being one step ahead, and you never realize all the people that you're simply one step ahead from. And when you show up and celebrate, like we used to do in our microculture team, like trucking to $15 million in revenue, but like winning $1,000 client, my CEO did not want to hear about the $1,000 client, but my team celebrated the heck out of that.
Yep.
And then we started the 4-step framework over and over and over again, as many times a day or a week or a season as you need to.
Mm. That's amazing. I love that. Love that analogy. Yeah, I love it. Again, you talking about celebrating the small
Mm.
wins. And, yeah, the first coach I worked with, she would always have me ask me after a win, no matter the size, how did you celebrate that win? And, even for me, a lot of times it doesn't have to be something big. It could be a good cigar and a nice beer. That's all.
Yeah.
But it's me celebrating that win that I had. And that is so true and that also keeps the momentum going
Yeah.
if we do that.
Yeah.
And I really like the fact that you tell people to take that step and to lean in.
Mm,
Um, action solves so many problems.
yeah.
And also the fact that we keep taking that step and keep leaning in, that keeps the momentum going.
Hmm.
And if we can keep the momentum going, we're going to be able to solve a lot of the problems along the way. The problems just, if we stop, the problems increase.
Hmm. Yeah.
But if we
I,
keep going, they diminish and we
and you figure it
overcome them.
out. Yeah,
Yeah.
you figure it out because you figure it out. Like I credit my ex-husband with saying indecision is worse than the wrong decision.
Mm,
So like to your point too about taking the wrong step is better, right, than not taking any steps, which is
hmm
basically like make a decision, take a step, lean in, celebrate the fact that you decided that that's not the right thing to do,
Yeah.
and then start over. There's
Yes.
a whole chapter in the book about the power of saying no, and it's not all yes, yes, yes. It's not that movie. What
Mm,
is that? The Jim Carrey Yes Man movie. That's
yeah.
not what this framework is about. It really is just like when to say no,
hmm
and sometimes the decision and the step and the leaning in points us to the no. Oh, oops,
Yeah.
that wasn't right. But not taking any steps at all
Yeah.
isn't going to get you anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Just a couple of weeks ago, I was talking with an HR leader and asking this leader, they had just gotten a promotion. The first thing I asked them was like, how have you celebrated that?
Wow.
And they said, well, I haven't yet. I was like, well, make sure you take time to celebrate. That's a big win, and celebrate that when you're worthy of it. You worked hard for this, and you should celebrate that for yourself. So how has your mastermind experiences influenced your business growth? You've talked a lot about the different programs we met in the Purpose Mastery program, but how has this influenced you?
Yo, and they know all the coaches that have these huge communities, it's the community.
Mm,
It like the people that you meet in the communities is worth the weight in gold.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a book I love. I fell in love with so many great books in 2024, and one of them was The Gap and the Gain by Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan.
Yep.
And they talk about how we can't measure ourselves against other people, and
Mm-hmm.
also like competition isn't at the top.
Yeah.
Collaboration is at the top. So when we're measuring our gains, the gain from this morning to this afternoon, the gain from last week to the end of the week, like whatever our individual gains are year on year, that is where we should be focusing.
Yeah.
But in these masterminds, you learn about books like The Gap and the Gain or 10x is easier than 2x. There's so many books out there. I mean, I'm writing my second book. I'm contributing to all of these books being out there, but other people in these communities, they help in addition to the mentorship or the coaches that you bought. It's
Mm-hmm.
the other people that can help move the needle, either because they're making suggestions, right, that actually benefit you, or which has been the case right now sitting on this podcast with you and so many others, is like collaborating with other people even
Yes.
when we sell the exact same thing,
Yeah.
because it's just a matter of like how I can help you, how my audience, who in my audience is called to, and you and I don't even per se sell the same thing, but it really is like, who do I know that's called to your voice,
Mm.
and how can that help you?
Yep.
Because when we have an abundant mindset and not a scarcity mindset, really is when it it isn't like I'll get to 10 million much
Mm.
faster by hitching my wagon with people, with other
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. That's so true. And it's like you're giving back, you
Yeah.
know, and we're paying it forward. We've heard of paying it forward,
Both.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're doing both of those things. And, I just feel like when we operate that way, more opportunities, keep coming our way, and
Mhm.
it's just going to be there for us. And you're right. There's so many other people within that group that I've connected with and done other things with. And,
Yeah.
we have helped each other and benefited each other. And it's, really and truly, you're not my competition. I'm my competition. I should be focused on
Exactly.
me getting better and
Yeah.
not worrying about somebody else. And when we get in that mindset that everybody, this person's my competition, that person's my competition, you're in a totally wrong mindset. That your competition is yourself. Focus on yourself and get better, and help those other people around you, and your world is going to get better. You know and you're
Oh,
going to bring so many good things into the world. So, what legacy do you hope to create through your book and your coaching speaking that you're doing?
oh man. Like I think for me and for so many others, it really is this concept of impact and
Hmm.
helping so many people understand that this concept of imperfect action can help unlock their next level or their next thousand levels. And really like, how can I get this framework into millions of people's hands? How can I also inspire my own family?
Yeah.
I think you know the story about how my 6 year old
Hmm.
said to me, he wants his own YouTube channel. And he probably said it to me at 5. And I said, okay, which is crazy because most people, no judgment, would say no.
Yep.
I repurposed one of my old channels, and we just put like a cover photo, and you know the coolest thing is, I was like, Gibson, make an introduction video. So like you need to, and we don't have a microphone, we have nothing, right?
Hmm.
And here we were outside. Anybody who visits the channel can see it because I pinned it, and he'll like, "Hi, my name is Gibson," and we had to re-record that video a few times because I couldn't hear him. He was mumbling. He's
Hmm.
5.
Yep.
But having ideating that
Hmm.
he wanted his own YouTube channel. Mommy didn't say go have one. And then coming up with the videos for it and asking me all the time, Mom, can we make a video? And like try to figure out how to get him to make his own videos.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's no editing. Somehow he knows what CapCut is. He's
Yeah.
6. So like the technical skills, the imagination, the accountability, the responsibility, learning how to like posture himself and
Yeah.
speak, it's all like oh my god, my eyes light up because that's the impact on a granular level that everybody can have in their own lives and with their own communities
Yeah.
when they implement the say yes and figure it out framework.
Well, that's huge. I mean, I wouldn't. That's a huge impact because really and truly, you're already raising an entrepreneur right there.
Yeah.
You're
So
raising a creator. You're helping him develop skills that, being able to stand up in front of a group of people and audience and be able to articulate and talk and speak from his heart, mind, and have thought through how he's going to do it. I mean, really and truly, you're putting him light years ahead,
mm,
because I've worked in, I work in a corporate space and do a lot of training. And guess what? We have to train people on communication. And these are people that
right.
graduate from college,
I know. I mean, I
you
have
know?
to. But the funny thing is, I had a communication major. I was a speech comm major, and I was just on another podcast saying how like we just have to look at everything about learning. We should
Hmm.
all hire you in our company to teach us how to communicate better because even if we're a speech comm major, we still need your strategies
Yeah.
and takeaways to implement.
Yeah. That's so cool that you're doing that with your son. I see you so involved. And that's one thing I like about following you and seeing you, that not only are you living this entrepreneurial thing, but you're also doing it as a mom. You're heavily involved in your kids' lives. Um, but I also want to know, what's the most important lesson you've learned about saying yes and figuring it out?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we never have all the answers. Like when I decided to shift my business from serving mainly corporations to serving entrepreneurs,
Mm.
there's all this in our heads like, I'm not good enough, I'm not ready. There's like all this imposter syndrome that creeps up. And once again, say yes and figure it out helped me overcome that. But really, I would say like it's leaning in to
Hmm.
knowing that like we don't need to have all of the answers. We can build the plane while we fly it.
Yep.
And it sounds like a crazy idea to many, many people. Like, no, I have to go build in a black box something like a course or build out this fancy landing page or. But unless I've done that too. I've made all the mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
It really, like, the biggest say yes and figure it out moments is continuing to reuse the framework, to lean back in, to
Mm-hmm.
have more wins, and really to iterate my business, not get stuck.
Yeah.
Because I was.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing. So if you could go back to your corporate self, what's one piece of advice you would give?
Mm. Mm. Yeah, even if I could, like, give advice to, yeah, my younger self, right?
Mm.
It really is like, keep asking. Oh, always ask one more question.
Okay.
This is how that was like my, in corporate, how you have Slack or like
Uh-huh.
Teams. I
Yep.
had that as my headline.
Okay.
Always ask one more question.
Okay.
It's like, that's good advice for
Yeah.
everything in life.
Yeah.
And it's not as easy to follow as it
Yeah.
sounds.
Yes.
Well, that's the advice I would give my younger self, because if you ask another question, then you can be that much closer to figuring something out. Like,
Mm.
sometimes the next decision point or the next say yes and figure it out moment is on the back end of asking a question.
Yeah.
But if we're scared, my face would turn red. Like, if we're not timid to raise our hand,
Yep.
if we're scared to speak up and ask that question, to your boss in a one-to-one. But there's even moments of scare mindset in that meeting, because what is he going to think? What's your boss going to say? What's this? But, like, just the courage to always ask one more question, I think, will set us free.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. Uh, and that's so like coachy. It's like, what's the best thing about a good coach? A good coach knows how to ask really good questions.
Wow. Yeah.
And those questions are the things that draw out what you
Yeah.
need to do and what you're more likely to do, because they're helping you draw it out, because that's what's in you, and that's what you do. And you're sitting here doing that with say yes and figure it out. And that's such amazing. So as we kind of close it down, um, what's one hack that you would offer to busy entrepreneurs out there?
Yes. The number one hack, in fact, when new clients sign up to me, I'm like, go on a walk or whatever that means for you,
Mm-hmm.
and really take this concept of the 4 levels of value, like implementation, unification, communication,
Mm-hmm.
imagination, to heart, and figure out ways that you can spend more time in your imagination to more significantly move the needle. I learned of what they call net, no extra time, not that
Mm-hmm.
long ago. And I would go on all these walks, and I decided to start listening to audiobooks on the walk. And some people like to listen to the birds and the bees. So it's all good either way.
Yep.
I can imagine and ideate ideas doing either. And sometimes actually I'll listen to 10x is easier than 2x 4 times in
Okay.
2024. Like, because I'll find books I love, $100 million offers. Like, I'll
Mm-hmm.
find books I love and just listen to them on repeat. But I find myself, while I'm walking, while I'm listening, still imagining how that impacts my business, how my life, how I can implement something that they're suggesting. And so now I'm like going on a walk, which is good for my health. I'm listening to stuff that can potentially move the needle in my business, and I'm spending that time in my imagination.
Oh, wow.
I know it sounds maybe like child's play, no pun intended, but that is the number. In fact, it's impacted me so much. This is no surprise to you now. I I have already embedded that in my children. My
Okay.
4-year-old's too young to understand per se, but like my 6-year-old, he does.
Yeah.
Like, the more you can live in your imagination, there are no wrong ideas. There are
Yeah.
no. It's just like we just might not choose that idea.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, imagine yourself, that will set you free, because on my walks I'm like, who can I collaborate with?
Mm.
Like, what does that look like?
Mm-hmm.
What other offer could I make? The offer you
Mm-hmm.
don't make, no one can take.
That's right.
Like, what
I
what
love that.
who else can I ask if they might need my services?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, that's cool. So tell the audience how they can get a hold of you.
I would say, like, go to sayyesandfigureitout.com, and no matter what's on the landing page, maybe it's a blank page, just like drop your email and figure out to stay in the know, because that landing page continuously, like, follows me around. And sometimes blank on purpose because we're working on things behind the scenes. Other times it's really well built out and point to a lot of stuff. So from there, no matter what, like I'm highly Googleable.
Okay.
Okay. So anybody, you'll all find me on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and all the places. But yeah, say yes and figure it out so you can land on my email list and then be up to speed on all these fun podcasts we do and the book and everything else.
All right. Well, we'll also have all your information in the description for the channel. And so, guys, if you want to go check out Kristin and all of her work and go check out her book, Say Yes and Figure It Out, that link will be in the description as well. So, Kristin, I want to thank you so much for joining Legacy Leader Lounge today. You have brought a lot of value, dropped a lot of gold nuggets, and thank you for sharing your experience. And I would challenge the audience, go check Kristin out, go order that book, go find where she's speaking somewhere, or if you're in a corporate space, hey, tell your leaders, sign her up, introduce her. If you're an entrepreneur out there and you want to 10x your business this year, give her a call and have that talk with her so that you can grow and expand and experience. Say yes and figure it out for yourself. All right. So, Kristin, thank you so much for joining us on Legacy Leader Lounge, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you so much.
Hey, you're wonderful. So, we're going to stop it here and see what happens. Thank
Ah,
you so much again for coming out and doing this a second time, and I'm praying this works this time. So,
it'll work. I know it'll